Thank you. That video is on YouTube. I want to introduce Cody Montag from the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund, who argued the case and did a tremendous job today.
Yes, she did.
Yes. She's going to say a few words, then I'm going to say a few words to put this argument in context. I know a lot of people have questions about our case against the county as opposed to our case against the city, and I'm going to explain a little bit. And then we're going to bring in Bernadette, there she is, from the Coalition to End Unconstitutional Tax Foreclosures. And we can answer any questions that you have. So, Cody, great job.
Thank you. Cody Montag from the NAACP Legal Defense and Educational Fund. We are here to fight these discriminatory tax foreclosures that have been burdening homeowners in Detroit and in Wayne County and are illegal under the Fair Housing Act. And what this appeal is about today is access to the courts for victims of housing discrimination. Aggrieved persons must be able to bring their claim under the Fair Housing Act in state court. And that is why we are here today. We believe the Fair Housing Act is clear. We believe we've got great arguments here. We will continue to fight for you all, to fight for homeowners in Detroit and throughout Wayne County to ensure that we can rectify Wayne County's discriminatory foreclosure practice. Thank you so much for coming out to support us today. It means so much. And that's it. Thank you.
I should mention here that we have a very large legal team. In addition to several attorneys from LDF and about 10 attorneys from Covington, there's other ACLU of Michigan attorneys. We got Dan Karofkin and Von Susu right here. We've spent countless hours on the case. I want to say that the tax foreclosure crisis in Detroit is a government-created catastrophe that's destroying communities in the city of Detroit and undermining the ability of this city to recover. There's nobody in this city, in this county, in this state, in this country who should lose their homes for inability to pay taxes that they never should have had to pay in the first place. And that's what this case is about. Now, I just want to give a little bit of background because I know there's some confusion and it's a little complicated. When we filed this case a year ago, we filed against two general defendants. We filed against the Wayne County Treasurer, and that was the argument today was about our case against the Treasurer. We also filed against the city of Detroit. The city of Detroit, as everybody here knows, has screwed up in a major way. After the Great Recession, when the values of homes plummeted, and plummeted very far in Detroit, the city did not follow its constitutional obligation to reassess the homes to reflect the true cash value of the homes, okay? And because that, their homes were very overassessed for tax purposes, sometimes 4 times overassessed, sometimes 10 times overassessed. So it got to a point where homes were selling on the tax foreclosure auction for $500, for $1,000, when their tax bill was more than that, okay? It was crazy. The other thing that the city messed up was the poverty exemption process. In Detroit, if you own a home and you fall below the federal poverty guidelines, you should be paying $0 in taxes. $0. But because the process for getting the exemption is so convoluted, very few people who qualified for this exemption actually got it. So you had a situation where thousands of people are losing their homes for taxes that they never should have had to pay in the first place. Okay? When we filed this case, there were 2 claims One was dealing with it was a due process claim against the city for the convoluted process for getting the poverty exemption. The city made a motion to dismiss that case. It was denied by Judge Colombo. Many of you were there. That case continues in the trial court. It's actually now in negotiation. The claim against the county was under the Federal Fair Housing Act, which says you can file a case in state court, okay? And our claim there was that the county's policy of just accepting from the city the overassessed values and foreclosing on homes where people weren't able to pay the overassessed taxes violated the Federal Fair Housing Act because it had a disparate impact on people of color. And our experts are, very clear on this point that the foreclosures among African Americans were 10 to 15 times that of non-African Americans. Now, the county also made a motion to dismiss, and the judge said, you know what? You properly stated a claim under the Federal Fair Housing Act. You have made allegations that show that, yes, there is a disparate impact on people of color. Nonetheless, he kicked the case, but on a technicality, on jurisdictional grounds. And he said that we should have brought, for some reason, we should have brought this case in the Michigan Tax Tribunal. Well, you remember, the Federal Fair Housing Act specifically says that you can commence a case under the Federal Fair Housing Act in state court. The Tax Tribunal is not a court. And so we have gone to the Court of Appeals today asking the court to reverse that holding and send the case against the county back to the trial court. Cody did an amazing job today. We're hopeful. It sounds like the judges understood our argument. We should get an answer whenever they want to give us it. Usually, this case has been expedited because they recognize it as an important case. So it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a couple of months or more. We hope that they rule promptly because, as you all know, there's a tax foreclosure auction happening this fall and thousands of homes